In this module, we will be discussing on the issue of sustainability. So, as we discussed in the earlier module, sustainability means the capability to deal with the environment, society and economy so that they have the capability or the capacity to continue to meet the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. So, we are dealing with the environment, the society and the economy in such a way like they are not drained of their capacity to provide to the needs of the future generation while answering to the needs of the present generation, and that is how we are trying to make a balance in this situation. So, when we are talking of environmental sustainability, here we discuss the capacity of the natural environment to continue to meet the needs of the present generation and without compromising the ability of it to future generation, so that they can meet their needs from that environment. So, however, in the present context, the sustainability is interpreted in terms of more than just environmental concerns. So, it is dependent on three pillars: the economic activities, the social activities and the environmental activities, and all these three pillars are interrelated to each other, and the sustainability in one domain is possible when the other domains are sustainable also. So, the way that we carry our economic activities will definitely affect the environment, and the way that it affects the environment may have effect on the society at large. Suppose we are gearing our economic activities through a manufacturing processes that rapidly depletes the resources of our environment, and continued degradation of environment can limit the growth, economic growth of the present generation in future, or this may because we will get accustomed to some lifestyle, but when these resources become scarce and non-existent, then the economic activities gets affected and we have to adjust our lifestyles also. So, economic activities, economic sustainability then requires like structuring our economy so that the environmental sustainability and the social sustainability also are taken care of. So, the lifestyles that the economic activities promote, the quality of environment that it lives with, so all this will depend on the future culture picture that the society gets, and also the quality of environment that they live in. So, economic activity has to see like it is not making undue use of the environment, putting over pressure on the environment, and be concerned about the environmental sustainability and go and so for the social sustainability, which requires creating societies that that we have already discussed while we were discussing the social ecology, the ecofeminism point and the feministic orientation of conserving resources. Like the societal values should be such that it's it should be promoting the development of cultures, communities, and practices, ways of life, so that it nurtures the and respects the environmental sustainability, and so that the environment continues to provide those things on which our life depends. So, it is the mutuality of the relationship between the three players, like the environment, economic sustainability, and social sustainability. So, responsible actions taken for during to achieve economic sustainability, favorable culture and social system which respects the rights of the environment and respects life for the sake of life itself. So, reverence to life, as we may call it. So, these act as facilitators for environmental sustainability. And if the environment is sustainable, it is going to provide on the way the handhold support in the way for the future generation also, like that which is doing in the present. So, this may sound somewhat anthropocentric in nature, like we are maybe thinking of environmental sustainability, but at the end we are talking of like keeping it sustainable to the extent like that when it can also be provided in the same way, so that it can provide to the needs of the future generation. Is it not that we are sounding like anthropocentric in nature? So, this is when we are talking of maybe the conservation of the non-reserve. This is, but however, this is only one part of looking into the aspect of sustainability. So, if we are to look into the ecological perspective also, where the preserved is for its own values also has to be taken side by side. Otherwise, if you are looking only into the anthropocentric view, we may be careful of those resources which have the possibility of using in future, but we may not be careful for those resources for which we don't see any present or future use. So, that ecological perspective also needs to be embedded while we are talking of the renewable energy, non-renewable energy, and how it should be balanced, how we can balance so that the needs for the present and the future are met together. And what specific things needs to be done. So, 3 points which can be taken into consideration is like renewable energy resources should not be depleted faster than their rate of replacement. So, if the renewable resources are depleted at a rate which is faster than their replacement, then at certain point of time the resource gap will obviously be there. The emission rate of pollution should not exceed the capacity of the environment to cleanse and assimilate that pollution. And third, non-renewable resources should not be depleted at a rate which is no greater than its replacements. So, the first two items in the list are widely accepted, like not depleting renewable resources faster than the replacement, or not creating more pollution that the environment can absorb. But when it comes to the third step, like we should, because it hints towards the present generation using less of non-renewable resources or limiting the use of the non-renewable resources such as oils, minerals, until and unless we have found out a substitute which will act as a replacement. So, there could be two views on this. The technology pessimists say that science will never find a substitute for all renewable resources. So, we must reduce the consumption and try to achieve the sustainability. The technology optimists say like the science will definitely find such substitute. So, the sustainability requires neither the conservation nor reducing consumption for the non-renewable resources. So, there are two different views, like whether to conserve or not to conserve. But even if we are taking the viewpoint of the technology optimist, where we are assuming like the science will find such substitute, so sustainability requires neither conservation nor reducing consumption. So, there however, always some time gap will be there regarding this, the fast use of the non-renewable resources and the time taken for its replacement to appear. So, at that and its time required for its replacement to appear. So, during this, because by that time maybe a substitute has not yet been found. So, during that time conservation becomes essential. So, though there are certain controversy regarding how sustainability can be achieved. It is, however, we can understand it is in consensus with the justification of ethical judgment of Rawls and Atfield that we should leave our children a world that is no worse than the one that our parents left us. So, this hints to the fact that we must not consume renewable resources faster than they can renew themselves, and that we must not produce more pollution than the environment can absorb. How we interpret the third point, that we should not deplete the resources, non-renewable resources faster than our technology can develop adequate substitutes, depends on whether the person is a technological optimist or a technological pessimist. But we have to take both the views into consideration and need to have some self-regulations in the amount that we are trying to consume, or the eagerness, the motivation with which we try to find out substitutes. So, to many observers, even conservation measures will fail to or answer to what is fully needed to ensure sustainability. It may fall short of what is needed for sustainability. Some environmentalists have argued that if we are to preserve our enough of a limited, non-renewable and non-substitutable resources, so that future generation can maintain their quality of life at a level which is similar to ours, we shall have to change our economic sustainability by scaling down from the pursuit of our economic growth. E.F. Shoemaker have claimed, like, the individualized nations will have to cut down from their, or to convert from their growth oriented capital intensive technologies to much more labor intensive technologies in which the human do the work the machine do now. So, some have argued that the economy systems will have to abandon the goal of steadily increasing production and put in its place the goal of decreasing production, so that will come to a steady state. It is where then it is a point at which the social, the stock of physical wealth that is maintained and the total population are remain constant at some level which we take to be the minimum level, the minimum thing which should be present to take care of the needs of the present generation. And so, by take care of the maintenance throughout. So there may be the taking care of the birth and death rates, and taking care of the population explosion, and also taking care of death due to malnutrition. So these type of balancing activities taken. So so that this balance is maintained. However, the view like the economic activities or the growth must be abandoned if the society is to be able to deal with the problems of diminishing resources have faced with major challenges. So, however, it is arguable that adherence to continued economic growth will end up degrading the quality of life of future generations and possibly the later life of the current generation. So, this will lead to the moral questions like whether some economies will have access to more of the resources, and some of the countries will be having access to less of the resources, and what are the rights of the future generation in those two countries. So, and where the developed countries consume more of the resources, and the developing countries are left with adjusting to consume at lower rates. So, or this the question like we discussed now is like, is it not like the search for going for more economic growth will lead to degradation of the quality of life of the future generation, because then there will be no resources left for the future generation to satisfy their need in the way that they want to do it, until and unless they have found out some substitutes for the resources that have been overused by the present generation. And also it may so happen that the latter part of the existence of the present generation also may suffer to some extent. So, because the no resources are left to take care of the economic growth. So, these type of controversies may arise, these types of moral questions may arise, and then we'll find like these living standards of people will move up and down in the same country as the time passes, or the living standards of people of developed country and a developing country are going to vary. And like if you are studying the throughout the time frame the rates of pollution and the growth of a particular country and maybe comparable to countries, will try to find out the relationship of economic growth and the environmental sustainability, and to what extent it will remain sustainable for future generation also. So, these are moral questions, and so but and which helps us to answer the fact like, yes, these possibilities are there. So, because gradually we may be approaching to the scarcity of energy resources, and it makes us face this question whether high development, higher consumption nations are morally justified in continuing with their economic growth policies that lead them to appropriate for their own use the non-renewable resources of other more frugal nations that are too weak economically to use these resources, or too weak military in a military way to protect them. So, all this again, because these are again international contexts, because it depends on the corporate citizenship role of the business houses, how they are focusing on their relationships with the environment in which they are doing their business, the country to which they are going to do their business in. So, these type of things which are important discussions to understand, like what are the maybe ways in which practices which are there, which needs to be adopted, and so that the depletion of resources can be prevented, and what are the self regulations to be done, so that, and ethics to be followed, so that the, or what are the like pressures that the maybe CSOs and the government in terms of codes of conduct, these bodies can enforce on the business houses, corporates, so that they follow it, and the sustainability is maintained for the, like we are talking of environmental sustainability. So, it should not be like that we are taking away the share of resources that is available to another developing countries, and then we are flourishing at the cost of it, because either the developing country or the future generation do not have a strong power to represent itself and tell, these are my resources and you should not be polluting it or depleting it. So, in some cases it is defined by the ethics of care, how much careful you are to respect and recognize the needs of the future generation for the resources, for a livable environment, and the steps taken by you to control the misuse and overuse of the non-renewable and the renewable energy resources, and also not to pollute the environment, so that the future generation have access to these resources also. Thank you.